I find it troubling that a fellow council member would infer that I should resign. Madam Mayor, it's my turn to talk now. A feeding frenzy would have me charged and convicted and sentenced before I've had any opportunity to be heard. Now, I think all of you know that my passion for the city and community involvement spans over 50 years.
Please let him talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My reputation as a volunteer and community leader was well-founded before I ever contemplated an elected life. Now, I was shocked and stunned and angered, like a lot of us, when I read the FBI's allegations about Amit and Sidhu's actions. I knew Todd for 30 years and knew his father. To me, this betrayal was both professional and personal. Now, some residents, some of you out there, have claimed that I was complicit in their criminal behavior. And I'm going to ask something be put up on the screen here. There we go. Now, I want to call your attention to the screen that shows the two statements of fact from Mr. Sidhu's guilty plea agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'll let you go ahead and read that. Mr. Sidhu and Mr. Amit conducted their illegal actions in secret. Mr. Sidhu hid his actions from the rest of us on the City Council. Neither the original FBI affidavit nor Mr. Sidhu's guilty plea mentions my name. Now, just so everybody knows, clearly, the FBI, the State Attorney General, the Orange County District Attorney, or maybe even Shirley Grindle, has never interviewed me or contacted me. I've met fully and freely with the city's investigators and answered every question. Now, the blame of the corruption lies in the bad actors, not on those of us who were unaware of their corrupt activities. Excuse me. Now, I didn't blame Mayor Aitken for the criminal actions of Malahat, who managed her first mayoral campaign, but when the mayor stated that she knew nothing about Malahat's criminal activities, I extended her the benefit of the doubt and believed that she spoke the truth, and I still believe that her claim is true. Now, while I didn't need to read a plea agreement to believe that the mayor was unaware of Malahat's criminal activity, those statements of fact from Mr. Sidhu's plea agreement make it clear that neither I nor the rest of the City Council had any knowledge of Mr. Sidhu and Amit's illegal acts. Recent news articles indicate that I received an invitation via my personal email to attend 3 consecutive mock City Council meetings with members of the Angel or SRB management staff 3 years ago. Now, while there is evidence that the email was indeed sent, I have no personal recollection of participating in those 3 meetings, nor any record of having attended them. Now, I do recall having met with Angels baseball representatives on September 23rd, 2020, and announced that I had met with them at the City Council meeting during the following September 29th session. I recall also Council members Kring and Barnes stating they also met with representatives of Angels baseball a few days before the September 29th session, and Councilmember Moreno also stating that he had met with the Angels representatives a few months before. Those types of meetings are standard and acceptable. They're held when an applicant's request is about to go to a public hearing, and I had similar meetings with representatives of the Anaheim Ducks to learn about the OC Vibe project. That's part of our job. As pointed out by Councilmember O'Neill in a recent OC Register article, I had participated in agenda review meetings with one or two of my council colleagues to discuss important agenda items. These types of meetings are legal under the Brown Act, ethical and common, not just for city councils, but all levels of government. One recent OC Register article mentioned that 3 elected officials signed a letter referring to supposed mock city council meetings as a preordained plan. The officials demanded the immediate resignation of any elected official or city staff member who were influenced by this preordained plan. Well, I'm going on record to say that I was never influenced by some preordained plan, certainly not from a series of meetings that looks like they may never have been held. As far as the Angel Stadium's sale decision of mine, I based my decision on the following. This is the stadium decision, sale decision. First, the city of Anaheim commissioned 2 stadium property appraisals that valued the property at around $320 and $325 million, respectively, predicated upon the fact that the stadium remained and held 12,500 parking spaces. Now, critics of the deal overstated the property value by millions. None of those critics were appraisers involved in the valuation or sale of a professional sports stadium. The property valuations the city commissioned came from 2 licensed firms with experience in assessing the value of sports and entertainment properties. And those appraisers were also commissioned by 2 different city councils, 2 different city managers, and 2 separate mayors. Now, second, the plan including adding several acres of parks to District 5. My district, District 5, possesses nearly the least park acreage in the entire city. I've been championing city parks since the day I was elected. Parks are part of my DNA. My first action as an elected official on December 13th, 2016, was to request a comprehensive parks plan. Thereafter, I worked with Councilmember Barnes, city staff, and a consultant to publish this document. I'm also proud to say that more recently, I pushed for the city and the Anaheim Union High School District to agree to reopen some of the district's schools' fields, including the one at Sycamore Junior High School. I pushed for this agreement despite the district demanding it receive $50,000 in annual payments so Anaheim taxpayers and their children could use the fields. Third, let's talk about the Platinum Triangle. Between 2000 and 2004, I served on the General Plan Advisory Committee, from which the Platinum Triangle evolved. I looked forward to what we anticipated would be a vibrant, walkable, and services-rich neighborhood that used the stadium as its center hub. During the 2008 economic crisis, I was then serving on the Planning Commission and saw the loss of development funding. Our plan for the Platinum Triangle was no longer financially viable. Back then, we already knew the nearest grocery and shopping options were across the Santa Ana River in Orange or Upstate College at South Street. Today, the Platinum Triangle is still a food and shopping desert. Fourth, SRB management agreed to a community workforce agreement, meaning Anaheim's building trade residents would have local employment only a few minutes from their homes. I firmly believe the community workforce agreements improve the quality of life for my neighbors since 2019, when I worked with another council colleague to bring one to Anaheim. I recently was a strong voice at the MWD Metropolitan Water District to enact its own project labor agreement. My support, incidentally, of project or community workforce agreements is a significant reason my own political party refused to endorse me in my 2020 reelection. Fifth, the stadium deal would have brought about 1,000 units of affordable housing to Anaheim, some of them for very low and low-income families. As we all know, low and low-income, very low-income housing units are incredibly difficult to build in Orange County, almost impossible. I voted yes on every affordable housing project brought before me as both a planning commissioner as well as a city council member, and will continue to do so. And finally, I always looked to attract employers and the jobs and tax revenue they bring to our city. That's why I am such a staunch and unapologetic supporter of Disney and the Resort District. The Resort District is responsible for over 50,000 jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars of tax revenue. The TOT bed tax alone is over half of our general fund. Now, it's easy to forget here in 2023 what dire financial straits we were in 2020 with the pandemic. We didn't know whether our resort, hotels, or convention center would survive. The redevelopment of the stadium property, combined with OC Vibe and the nearby medical centers of St. Joseph, Chalk, and UCI, would have created another huge economic engine for our city. Our city's financial foundation would have been built on three diverse pillars, one being the Resort District, the other the Anaheim Canyon, and the third the Platinum Triangle. It would have attracted young professionals to live in the Platinum Triangle communities. Those professionals would then look north to the neighborhoods along State College, Sunkist, and Rio Vista to buy their starter homes when they were ready to have families. And even though the stadium deal, I still think, would have tremendously benefited our community for the 6 reasons I mentioned, I voted in unity with the rest of the council to terminate the agreement and call for Mr. Sidhu's resignation when the FBI revelations became known in May of 2022. In every one of those votes, I voted what was right. Mr. Sidhu and Mr. Ammett proved to be cancers in our community. Their criminal actions spoiled, I still feel, a fantastic opportunity. They used their power and position to take advantage of our residents, and they deserve their punishments. The focus now should rest solely on working together to regain public trust and set Anaheim back on a solid foundation, not on attacking each other. Madam Mayor, let's move forward and work together to prevent those dark days from happening again. Now, I appreciate the reform items that the Mayor Pro Tem agendized for later this evening. One of them is missing, however. The second most important one, listed in the JL report, is to reform the mayor's role in Anaheim and return our city back to its chartered city council, city manager form of governance. All of this started because Anaheim's mayors are becoming much more influential. As we have learned, Anaheim mayoral campaigns can reach into the multi-millions of dollars. Later tonight, I will agendize a discussion item to consider changing our city charter to go back to an appointed mayor's position, similar to what several Southern California communities already have. And I expect there will be a robust discussion. Colleagues, are we brave enough for this type of reform? Let's use this opportunity to continue creating policies that meet our community's affordable housing needs, improve the quality of lives for our residents, and strengthen our city's economic foundation so that Anaheim can thrive for more generations. Madam Mayor, thank you very much.
So I just want to address the elephant in the room because it's always been my greatest concern. This is this picture of the Brookhurst Street corridor that we did with our economic development team. But I want to address the elephant in the room because it wasn't just a month ago when the JL report came out. It has been the 8 months since I have been elected. That my biggest fear is that we were going to hear from this dais and from people in the community that we should just move forward. We should just forget about it. I shouldn't overreact, and we should just put it on a shelf and not address any of the problems that were outlined in that report. And I want you to know that I am absolutely not willing to do that. As far as my council colleague is concerned, I was very thoughtful to not name names in my statement. What I did ask was, if you have information, if you did participate, if you did something that was outlined in not the JL report that has been subject to criticism, but an FBI-backed plea deal from the United States Attorney's Office, that you should come forward, you should shed light and information on what you have done, and if you, in fact, did do those things, you should resign. And I stand by that statement right now. I am a little bit worried that we are confusing and focusing just on what is illegal or legal, and not also acknowledging that we have the duty to do what is ethical. And I have heard a lot of my council colleagues, and I know that they believe and they agree with me, that we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard when we are sitting in these chairs up here. So it's not just whether you broke the law. And I do think that laws were broken. I think the fact that there's people that were using their personal emails, avoiding government records, not turning over these personal emails, either in lawsuits, Brown Act lawsuits, but also not turning them over subject to California records requests, that is against the law. But we're also not addressing some of the really hard issues I saw in that plea agreement about what is unethical. So not only do you have, I don't care if you call them meetings, I don't care if you call them discussions, if you have rehearsed meetings with your council colleagues so that you are not listening to public comment, you are not being deliberative, you are being wound up like a little doll so that you're all well rehearsed to put on some type of charade, it might not be illegal, but it's certainly unethical. And when you have a group of council people getting together with the sole purpose to coordinate an attack on a council colleague, that might not be illegal, but it's certainly unethical. And half the reforms that I placed on the meeting agenda last meeting, I couldn't believe that we would have to do them. But we clearly have to right some wrongs. So as we go forward, I just want to be thoughtful that I don't mind if you don't acknowledge that they're my reforms, they're somebody else's reforms. I actually care about getting things done. I was born in the city, I was raised in the city, I love this city. And I am not going to brush this under the rug and pretend that it didn't happen. And it's a little bit of it causes me umbrage when the council reforms that I have put on the agenda today with the help of the mayor pro tem. There might be other ones that my council colleagues would like to do, and I welcome those ideas, I welcome those suggestions. But I have a problem when a council colleague, the only reform that you can bring up in the month since the JL report comes out is to go after the first female elected mayor. That's ridiculous. And there's a saying in Spanish, dime con quien andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you walk with, and that shows me who you are. And if you are only aligned with special interests, and you are only aligned with a corrupt mayor, and your only suggestion to make this city a better place is to go after somebody that is advocating for reform, I think we should be thoughtful that I'm not the problem. I think you are. So moving on.